Greetings and welcome to the Jacksonville Buzz. Coming up on our show today, we have On a Mission with Wendy Norfleet. We have a wonderful interview with the Jacksonville Historical Society, and we also have Operation New Uniform. Stay tuned. Greetings and welcome again to the Jacksonville Buzz. I am your host, Adrienne Houghton. And joining me in the studio today is Chief Pretty Chick, Nicole Banks from Pretty Pieces.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am very well. So, for those viewers that don't know, what is Pretty Pieces?
Pretty Pieces is, it's actually like a fashion playground. How about that? It's like the Stylish Divas candy store. You can find all kinds of little cute, eccentric fashion pieces to fill up your wardrobe.
Now, how did that come about?
Pretty Pieces came about 8.5 years ago. It was one of those things where I was going through a tough time and needed something to fulfill me, right? And so I was one of those girls that had a smaller top, larger bottom, so I always wore pieces. So it started off as like I would do like separates, thus the name Pieces, and it's just grown tremendously from there.
Now, in fact, you were in corporate world way before this started.
Mm-hmm.
What was the transition like for you from corporate living to your own entrepreneurial business?
It was a paradigm shift. I would just say that. COVID forced me into full-time entrepreneurship. Lots of things happened, and it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do one thing or another because it become a lot. So it was definitely a paradigm shift, but it was a welcome shift, and I have loved it ever since.
What do you think the biggest challenge has been for you transitioning?
The structure. So coming from corporate, I was an IT consultant. So your day is basically mapped out. Meeting 8 a.m. all the way through 5 p.m. Coming into full-time entrepreneurship, you have to do that for yourself. You know, you have to live by my calendar in a different way. So it was like, one morning I woke up, I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to be doing? So it was a shift.
So do you have retail space?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So we have a warehouse really close to here. We have about 3,200 square feet. The front of it is a storefront showroom, and then we have my corporate office, and we have a flex space which I use for photo studio. So we host parties, pop-ups. We haven't officially opened it as retail, but we do have that option, like girls' night out, bachelorette parties, you know, things like that. We do specialty pop-ups.
So, I mean, predominantly, you're an online essence, as it were.
Yes.
How did you find your market? How did you reach out to your audience and get them buying? Because you've got a huge business now.
So I wanted to sell to girls that look like me. So you think about it. I put all of those different nuances about myself into the internet, like, you know, onto the internet. I'm like, okay, where would I be? I would be on Facebook, or I would be on Instagram. What would I want to wear? What would I be looking for? So I made myself an avatar, right? And then I said, okay, I'm all these psychographic things about myself. That's the girl. So that's what I did. I just started to talk to girls like me on the internet. That's what I did.
And the rest is history.
Created a tribe. I love the tribe. It's called the Pretty Posse. And it's growing and growing and growing. And I show up every day and I talk to them. You know, I kind of watch what they're doing, what they need. Okay, so there's a conference. I know that my sorority girls have their conferences coming up. I know they need this. It is vacation season. It's rich auntie season. So whatever the case may be, I'm going to give it to my girls.
So you've got a lot coming up because we do have holidays coming up. And
yes,
I mean, I'm sure that's a big buying period for you. Are you going to be doing anything special online? Is there something that you would like the viewers to know about what's happening in the future?
Yeah, so our Black Fridays are amazing. We always make these huge concept sales. So we are actually shooting and preparing for that now. We have some celebrity and influencer things happening. We have some really cute collections coming, and we're working on our gift guide. So a lot of things happening, a lot of things to look forward to.
So if people want to find out where you are and how to see all your beautiful clothing, and obviously this is one of your pieces, which is really stunning, how can they find you?
ShopPrettyPieces.com on the web. We have a new app, Shop Pretty Pieces. It's for iOS and Android. We're Shop Pretty Pieces on Instagram, Pretty Pieces on Facebook, Pretty Pieces on TikTok, Pretty Pieces on Pinterest. We're everywhere.
Wonderful, wonderful. Nicole, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
You
having
look
me.
stunning as always,
Thank
and
you.
in a beautiful, pretty piece.
Thank you.
And don't forget, if you'd like to know any more information, you can find it at shopprettypieces.com or iwannabuzz.com. See you later.
Welcome back to another episode of On a Mission. I'm your host, Dr. Wendy Norfleet with Norfleet Integrated Solutions, and it's my pleasure to have with me today Ashley Michaelis with Empowered Voice Rehabilitation, LLC. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you first.
Sure. My name is Ashley Michaelis, and I am a certified speech-language pathologist. I'm the owner of Empowered Voice Rehabilitation, which is a speech-language pathology private practice. We specialize in voice, swallowing, communication disorders, specifically neurogenic communication disorders, and upper airway disorders.
Okay, so mostly, and when you first started talking, I was going to ask you, but I think you answered my question because my youngest daughter had problems with words. And she saw a speech person for about 1.5 years because certain, the compounds, the letters she couldn't pronounce well. That's not something you would do. You would be more in disorders.
Correct. So when most people think of a speech-language pathologist, they typically think of an individual working with children, helping them pronounce their R sounds, or
even adults
helping
like to have strokes and stuff, I'm thinking. Because
and
I know
that's
a couple of relatives that had strokes and they had to work with a pathologist.
Correct. And so that's more of what I do is working with individuals who have had strokes, brain injuries, or other neurogenic communication problems like diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, ALS, Huntington's disease.
So those things that sometimes it degrades your speech.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then I also work with voice disorders. That is my specialty area.
Okay.
In my undergraduate, I was a vocal performance major prior to being a speech-language pathologist.
I was going to ask you what got you into this.
Yep. And so I ended up having voice problems myself, and as a result found speech-language pathology as a career and wanted to help other people who had similar problems. So I do specialize in voice disorders for individuals who end up with things like vocal nodules, polyps, have a rough or breathy quality to their voice because of aging, all of those different kind of pieces of the puzzle, and upper airway disorders and swallowing disorders, which most people don't really know that speech-language pathology does.
Right, I would agree. When you're talking about this, when I first moved here, about 1 year or so after I moved here, Reverend McKissick, the son, not the senior, he had some vocal problems. And I know he couldn't preach it was a long time. And so I just remember, and I think his wife said he was working with someone and getting his speech back.
Yeah. I was going to say that the voice problems, most people don't really even think about as being something that needs to be addressed until they lose their voice. And so that's something that most people just don't even realize exists kind of as a job for somebody to do is to rehabilitate the voice, but it is really important if you think about what you do in your job day to day. Most people are what we call occupational voice users. They use their voice all day, every day in their job. And so it's really important to take care of your voice and understand how to preserve your voice long term, because when you do have a problem with it, it becomes a big problem very quickly. So that is something that I specialize in. Most people also don't realize that speech-language pathologists deal with upper airway disorders. So that's things like exercise-induced breathing difficulties, which most people usually go to see like a pulmonologist about.
Right. Or some people can go to a general practitioner.
Or a general practitioner. But a speech-language pathologist can also treat that as well, as long as they have that expertise. And that is one area that I do specialize in. And then swallowing disorders. So a lot of times following a stroke or a brain injury or head and neck cancer patients, they may have difficulty swallowing.
They have to relearn.
And they have to relearn.
Yeah.
So that's another area that I specialize in, is helping people to relearn how to swallow and to get back to eating and drinking the foods that they like to eat and drink, because that's a big quality of life issue.
Right. We all, have certain things we want, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So how big is your practice? I'm just curious.
So my practice is new.
Okay.
I recently just moved back down to Jacksonville from Vermont.
Well, welcome back. There's a
Thank
big
you.
difference.
Yes, there
I'm from
is.
Michigan, so that's a big difference.
And I just opened my private practice about 3 months ago, so it's just me. And we're growing pretty quickly, but we're looking to try to impact as many people as we can, because it is a service that is desperately needed for a lot of different people.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing all this information. So if someone wants to get in contact with you and help you grow your practice, how do they do that?
Sure. So there's a number of different ways that they could get in contact with me. They could visit my website, which is www.empoweredvoicerehab.org, or they could call my phone number, which is 904-539-9930. They can also follow us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Empowered Voice Rehab. They can also ask their physician, their primary care physician, or their neurologist, or their pulmonologist for a referral. And that referral can be faxed to us. So that is all. Those are all different ways that people can get in contact with us.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing information about your business, and I hope that you have a very healthy, growing practice.
Thank you.
And I just think it's great what you do.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. To learn more about Ashley Michaelis and Empowered Voice Rehabilitation, please go to www.empoweredvoicerehab.com to learn more, and we'll see you next time on Buzz TV.
Welcome back to the Jacksonville Buzz. I'm Steve Strum. This morning, we have Dr. Michael Kowalski from Acupuncture and Holistic Health Center. Good morning.
Good morning.
Did I say it right?
You did.
Perfect. Meeting's over. So, doctor, tell us a little bit about what is the Acupuncture and Holistic Health Center.
We provide acupuncture services and holistic health care services to our patients. And we have a wide range of services that we offer, including massage therapy and nutritional counseling and herbal medicine and some homeopathic medicine also.
So in today's modern medicine, a lot of people are looking for an alternative that doesn't answer with a pill. You guys provide those services.
We do.
What is it that's changed in the way that people are receiving medical treatment that has led to this holistic movement, whether it's acupuncture, wellness, massage, natural herbal supplements, versus the way it's always been?
I think conventional medicine does a wonderful job of treating acute conditions. However, many people suffer with chronic conditions which are not being helped enough such that they feel that they've received a solution to their problems with their chronic condition. And holistic medicine, especially acupuncture, is so non-invasive and safe to use and very effective at treating chronic conditions.
I've had acupuncture done a few times, and to be honest with you, the first time I was terrified of the concept. I've got this vision in my head that I'm going to look like a porcupine, right? You guys are going to stab me with a javelin, and right between my eyes, and that's going to cure my headache because it removed my brain. However, which is whatever's left of it, what I discovered was one, the needles. I'm terrified of needles. My mom was a vampire. She took blood and studied it for hospitals. So I grew up in that area. The needles are very small, like the size of a human hair small.
Yes.
When I've had chronic knee problems from playing sports. I've had all kinds of different stuff. How does an acupuncture needle that's the size of a human hair stuck into my knee or here, how does a needle going in here help migraines? I think that one's over here.
That is over there.
It is over.
Very good.
Yeah, headaches, right? Headaches are here. How does a
point
needle
for
going
headaches.
into this little meaty part between my thumb and index finger help me not have a migraine?
So all of these acupuncture points are connected to meridian lines of energy flow that go back to your organs and also traverse the body in different ways. What you're pointing to here is large intestine 4, number 4 point on the large intestine meridian, which goes to the large intestine, also going all the way up to your sinus cavity. And for people, for example, who have sinus type of headaches, this point would be very helpful because it's going to open up the whole channel of energy flow and clear your sinuses. And of course, they're bilateral, so the point goes to both sides of your nose.
Yes, it's interesting because there's been a couple times when I was doing the acupuncture treatment that like literally they got me over here and I felt it in my toe. It's like, okay, well, we're going to put this one right behind your ear, and next thing you know, my toes tingling. So people that are looking for alternatives to wellness that's not necessarily a traditional acute treatment for medicine,
Mm-hmm.
what would you recommend for somebody going, you know what, I don't know if this is for me? How would they best understand what you do to add value, and how would they connect with you to understand if they might be a patient?
So the root cause of the problem is what we're always seeking to find and to treat. And I think that's a very important key in holistic medicine. That's one of the principles of treatment in holistic medicine, is that we're not just trying to palliate your symptoms. For example, you mentioned about the colon 4, the large intestine 4 point, and headaches. That point would be used by me in a whole treatment to get to the root cause of the problem. So that could be an energy imbalance somewhere else,
Right.
that's causing the headache. So we look to find what is the root cause of whatever the patient's problem is, and we're going to treat that. And over time, over a course of a few treatments, we're going to get to the root cause and not only make that symptom better for a short time, but make it better for a very long term.
And for the folks that have needle sensitivity, like maybe somebody on this side of the table, you don't stab them with a javelin. These little teeny tiny needles. Now, one question I do have that I always found fascinating: if it needs to go on my knuckle, there's not a whole lot of place a needle can go on that.
Well, there aren't any points on the knuckle.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, the points are mainly in fleshy parts of your body, and the points are not painful.
Right.
Acupuncture is very, as I said before, non-invasive. It's also not, I think, what people consider what it feels like to have a needle in conventional medicine, where they're going to get a shot, or
Right.
an injection, or something like that. Even drawing blood.
Right.
Their needles are much thicker than our needles, and so because the needle is so fine, it's like going into a pore in your skin.
Right. You don't even feel it. Like I didn't.
You really
even, half the time-
barely feel it.
The only thing I felt when I was doing it, and I'll speak to my knees, because I have knees that have just been shredded from years of playing soccer.
Mhm.
And I, of course, have the braces, and I have this, and I have that, and all the stuff, right, to keep my, from falling over. And they're like, well, how's your knee? And I'm like, that's okay. And like, I never really thought about it. And they did the acupuncture bit on the knee, and I think, I don't know, it's not counted it because what I do, I count things. I think it was like 19 needles,
Wow.
in there. And the interesting part is, if you think about the knee, right, there's not a whole lot of fleshiness. There's stuff there, but it's not just a knuckle. But there's not a whole lot of stuff in there. And I'm a thin guy, so there's not a whole lot extra there. And so what was interesting is I didn't actually feel the needle go in. What I felt was whenever they got the little spot, the meridian,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, oh, it actually felt pretty good.
Yes.
So, and I'm sitting there because I'm all freaking out about the needle thing, and I'm all fixated on that. But it wasn't about the needle. It was about the pressure point, and it was about the fact when it bing, you could feel it, and you're like, oh my God, that feels fabulous. And, it wasn't a scalpel, which is kind of cool. Okay, if people want to find out more about your practice or about you, what's the best way for them to connect, to understand more about what you do, or if they want to become a patient or at least check you out?
Visit our website, number one, www.treatrootcause.com, like you're treating a patient at the root cause of their problem. Okay. So treatrootcause.com. And also they can call us 904-296-9545. And that's our office phone number, and they can ask any questions, and we'll be happy to get back to them with answers. If it's of a technical nature, I'll be happy to call them back myself.
As the doctor.
Yes.
That's right. We have the team, though, to handle the scheduling.
Got the team to
stuff.
handle the schedule stuff. Yes.
So as we take this away, what's the one thing that you could tell people that are struggling in their own health journey that they can do to help themselves by coming and doing holistic?
I think it's a journey, as you said, and I think it's a process of healing that people who are not getting the help that they need through whatever means they've already tried, don't give up. Don't stop short of getting the answers you need and getting the solutions you need to your healthcare issues. And very often, acupuncture can be a very useful and effective way of getting to the end of this journey, or at least way further on the journey to good health.
Well, thank you for joining us today and giving us some perspective on holistic medicine. I really appreciate that. Guys, thanks for joining us on the Jacksonville Buzz. If you like us, share us, and remember, live with gratitude. Welcome back to the Jacksonville Buzz. I'm Steve Strum. This morning we have Tracy Bradley Sr. from Operation New Uniform. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning.
All right, before we dig into what is Operation New Uniform, ONU, an organization I've known for a long time, I want to take 2 seconds to say thank you for your service to our great country. We were talking off set, blowing stuff up for the Navy for 20 years.
Yeah, I was an aviation ordnanceman, retired out of NAS Jacksonville.
This stuff on your face isn't loud in the Navy, man.
Not at all. That's why I love having it now.
So tell us about what is Operation New Uniform?
Well, Operation New Uniform is an organization its mission is to assist transitioning veterans to help them transition from the military into corporate America and putting on that new uniform. Basically a different mindset, way of thinking, mind, body, soul, spirit. We do DISC assessments, understanding your personality, and how basically a training on how things are going to be now that you're taking off that uniform and putting on this uniform.
And it's a lot more challenging because growing up in an Army family, one of the things that you always knew what to do is you always knew what color to wear. As long as it's green, you're fine.
Right.
And, 20 years of what socks to wear, what shoes to wear,
right.
What processes to do, going into the private sector can be really scary, whether it's for the rank and file or even officers making that transition. As a military person, you have a wide array of skills that some people don't even comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Ordnance, what you did. How is that a transferable skill set to go from the battlefield to the boardroom?
That's a great question. I would say with ordnance, it was about tangibility, being able to look at a process, being able to understand and study a checklist, being able to put procedures in place to where you would make sure everyone was safe and that the job was mapped out from fruition to ending, everything being done correctly. So that transfers over into corporate by understanding a project, understand from the beginning phase, development, beginning, putting it in process, ending, tying up all loose ends to make sure everything was done correctly. So leadership, accountability, purposeful, intent, teamwork, all of those things.
So if you are in the private sector and you're at a bank or an airline or a railroad company, then you don't follow those processes. The plane's late, train's late, maybe the reports don't get up on time.
Exactly.
If you miss a process in ordnance, we might be down one naval ship.
Exactly.
Because there's a gigantic hole in it thanks to you.
Exactly.
So you have, it's almost like when you're saying that, I'm thinking, gosh, Six Sigma, right? Like the process improvements and all that stuff. And so you guys help the tangible skill sets transfer from battle to boardroom.
Yes.
What about the scars that people don't see? Having a brother that's been deployed 6-7 times, family, military. There's a lot of, when people come back from war, they come back different.
Yes.
How do you help with your program to help those people transition, not just in the skill set side, but then also in the mental side that they're dealing with potentially some PTSD, some physical abnormalities, et cetera?
Well, part of our curriculum, we go over mind, body, soul, and spirit. We partner with other veteran services organizations locally to help with that. We partner with Wounded Warrior Project. We partner with COIN, all about helping the whole veteran, not just plugging you into a career. We also go over, we have this one thing in our curriculum that goes over identity versus role, teaching transition veterans that your identity in that uniform, that paid off the first class, that chief, that lieutenant, that captain, that was a role you played. Your identity is how you were born, the person that you truly are on the inside. So how to understand the difference and how to maneuver once you're out of that uniform, understanding that
you got to pick out your own socks.
It's not just
now.
your uniform. Yeah,
you got to pick out those
that
socks.
That uniform doesn't just make you.
That's right, but you make you. And
Exactly.
that uniform made you better.
Exactly.
So as we're taking this out, a couple things. You have an annual gala.
Yes.
It's every December.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about the gala, if people want to participate, and how do they find out more about your organization?
Well,
So give me the gala.
Yes.
Give me the website.
Our annual gala is called our Heroes Gala. It will be this December. We're asking that anyone who wants to support, participate, go to www.onuvets.org. You can find information about our guest speaker. We're going to have some pretty heavy hitters as an MC, guest speaker, silent auction.
Oh yeah,
The
I heard.
full shebang.
I saw your silent auctioneer. I might have to come just to mess with them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so people want to find out more about the gala, about how they can participate, or if they're a service member and they're sitting there going, "Gosh, now I'm out of the military. Now what?" www.onuvets.org.
Yes.
So ONU, more than one vet.org.
ONUVets, VETS.org. And we are actually expanding to Tampa. We've done a few classes in the Tampa area. We're expanding to Orlando. And next year, we're unveiling what we're working on now to go nationally via online, where individual vets in different states will be able to still go through our process online.
Absolutely fabulous. Thank you for what you're doing for our veteran community, as well as what you're doing for our local Jacksonville community. I really appreciate you coming on the show this morning, and of course, not to underscore, for your service to our great country.
Well, thank you for supporting us.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Guys, thanks for joining us. If you like us, share us, and remember, live with gratitude.